After there was much debate as to whether or not he would remain in F1, Yuki Tsunoda has signed with AlphaTauri for 2023. Christian Horner has advised Alpine to hire Daniel Ricciardo. And after revealing that there will be a 24 race calendar for the 2023 season, there seems to be an uproar by F1 teams on the FIA's decisions. Let's get right into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Formula One Digest. I'm your host, Tyson De Silva, reacting to some crazy news about Yuki Tsunoda, who is staying on, folks, in AlphaTauri for 2023. Yuki is staying, and it is going to be really interesting to see what he does in his third year with AlphaTauri, because after his first year, where he wasn't that much of a difference, he seems to have gotten slightly better, and at least in my opinion, has been very noticeable on the grid. He's been in Q3s a few times. He's had some solid finishes. There have been some races where he's even outperformed Pierre Gasly. So I think this is a much deserved shot with Yuki, but I think that if he's going to get a fourth year in F1, he needs to produce a lot more next year than what he's doing right now. I think that him re-signing is also a sign that they are not that AlphaTauri will not be getting two new drivers, as we were kind of speculating that they may try and go for Mick Schumacher and Colton Herta. And as the Colton Herta news has fallen, it looks as though they're just going to be trying to replace Pierre Gasly for next season, because many were speculating that they might try to replace both of them. And so it looks as though we may be getting a Yuki Tsunoda and potentially Nick De Vries driver lineup for AlphaTauri going into next year, but that's not confirmed. But recent reports, of course, have suggested that Nick has been talking to Red Bull about potentially going there. But right now we are looking at part 3 of Pierre and Yuki, and we're all here for it just because of the memes. They're a very funny duo. Sticking to the subject of Red Bull, Christian Horner, the team boss for Red Bull, has come out saying that he believes that Alpine should hire Daniel Ricciardo going into next season. Of course, there is that coveted spot at Alpine for 2023 after Fernando Alonso made the shocking move to go to Aston Martin. And there have been many drivers that have been going, that have been speculated to be signing with the team. Some names have been Daniel Ricciardo, but some other notable names have been Mick Schumacher, Pierre Gasly, as we just talked about. And there was even a report that there were 14 drivers being in consideration for the role. Even Nick De Vries, I believe, has been rumored to be joining the team. And I think that this is interesting because obviously Daniel and Christian worked together when Daniel was with Red Bull. And since then, since leaving Red Bull, he has not been the same driver that he was there. He really struggled in Renault and then left to go to McLaren. And that almost proved to be even further to his downfall, as Renault, they rebranded to Alpine and are a much better team than McLaren is right now. That's just going by the constructor standings alone. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not they do sign him. I really don't think that Daniel Ricciardo will be with Alpine next season. I think he's going to most likely be a reserve driver for a team and maybe sit out a year. And maybe for the rest of his career, he might just be a reserve driver. But you know, until we know for sure, there's always a possibility that he may go back to Renault. But despite his experience, I don't think that his current form is enough to show that he's deserving of the seat. So we will continue to follow what happens with the Alpine seat. We've been following it for a while now, and we will see what happens. Furthermore, the F1 committee released the calendar for the 2023 season, which features 24 races within the year. I will include the screen grab right now. And we're essentially looking at the season starting March 5th in Bahrain, and then it'll go all the way to Belgium, which will cap off the first half of the season, and that'll end in July 30th, and then we'll be back in the Netherlands August 27th and finish the season November 26th in Abu Dhabi. Really exciting races coming up, some ones that have been kind of off the grid. The, of course, most notable one is Las Vegas, which has been the highlight announcement, I guess, going into next year. This past year, it was Miami. Miami was not that great of a race this year, but, I guess we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's going to be really fun to see a much larger race calendar and what it does to the drivers. And of course, hopefully it'll give opportunity to more fans to grow the sport. And while we fans may be happy about a bigger, longer season, F1 teams are angered by the FIA's surprise announcement. And it turns out that a lot of the Formula One teams are angry and frustrated because they were taken by surprise when the FIA announced the sports calendar. This is coming from The Guardian, and it looks as though one team member said that the FIA's attitude is unacceptable, as they feel like that there is a disconnect between the F1 teams and the FIA. This is something that is going to be highly debated, I think, throughout the rest of the season and even going into next season, because obviously I think the FIA's goal is to grow the sport and to bring and to push the limits, but F1 teams also are meant to have a say in this, I believe, because they are literally most of the sport. And so so according to the article, a lack of notice was not only the problem within the sport. This includes a triple header between the USA, Mexico, and Brazil. And from what it says, it is expected they would accept the proposal as they have in the past, but the FIA failed to consult them. So there just seems to be a really big disconnect between the F1 teams and the FIA. So we are definitely going to be seeing the repercussions of this, I think, as the season continues and maybe as the 2023 season begins. But, we're all here for more racing at the F1 Digest. We just want to make sure that, hopefully, eventually, the teams in the FIA can come to an agreement. If you guys made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Also, I'd like to give a big shout out to RJ, who just subscribed to us. I met him today when I was at work. Seems like a really chill guy. He's a Lewis Hamilton fan. So shout out to RJ. We appreciate the support. And we will continue to follow all the news going into Singapore next week. And we'll see you guys in the next one.